Hey everyone, this is Training and AutoML Working Group Community Call on 22nd of January. This meeting will be recorded and published on YouTube, and this meeting is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. Welcome everyone. We have many new folks here in the call, as I can see. Maybe we can start, quick introduction first. So, do you have anyone here in the call who just want to introduce themselves to the community? Just want to say hello. Feel free to start, anyone.
Hello everybody, this is Garvit here and I'm from Pune, India.
This is your Garrett. Thanks for joining. Anyone else want to say hello before we get started?
Hey everyone, this is Leon, and we're joining from Bloomberg.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Hey, this is Shravan. So I'm joining from Apple. Yeah.
Thanks, Rowan. Thank you for joining the call. All right. Anyone else? So we can get started with the agenda items. All right. So in that case, let me just share my screen so we can directly go to the discussion list. Yeah, so first of all, I think we want to talk about the release. So the 1.9 of Kubeflow Training Operator has been released. I think this is great because it actually has a lot of very good features for training operator. Like we supporting JAX there, and also we introducing like a lot of features for web validations, for SDK updates. So if you want to take a look, so we're still kind of like trying to cut the GitHub release. So you can see it on the right side. Right now you can see we only have the RC0 for 1.9. But I will cut the 1.9.0 official release in GitHub once I guess this PR will be merged for the changelog. It should be right here. So right now, like as you know, like we're working on Kubeflow Trainer 2.0 project, which means like we're going to remove the entire training operator code base from the master branch. So all of the changes for 1.9 will be on the release branch. Um, and I guess like in the future, we probably will make more releases for training operator, like if we need to do any bug fixes or significant, like, important improvements for users. But just to let you know, like entire training operator will still be on this release branch for a very long time. And we're planning to support the 1.9. I guess like we're discussing previously, like for a year and a half, but we will work with the users and customers to see like what we should do with this release moving forward. So this is the changelog. Let me make a link here. Any questions so far for the release? We have some, maybe I can go through like breaking changes just to let you know. So we're supporting the new version of Kubernetes, like 1.30, 1.31, which means like I think we drop support for 1.27 for training operator release. Also, we kind of like dropping support for MXNet, like MX job completely because Apache MXNet got archived, the project. And we're dropping support for Python versions as well. Like again, as I mentioned, right, like the significant improvements is we're supporting JAX within training operator right now. So if you have TPUs or using JAX in production, feel free to test this new controller. We're planning to introduce JAX support for training 2.0 as well. But this is just our start to see how we can work closely with JAX community. So there are some significant changes for SDKs I mentioned, and also like FSDP examples and deep speed examples, which is like show how we can leverage training operator for more kind of advanced model training, and some things for the controller plane updates and SDK updates. Yeah, so any questions so far for the release? That's great. I guess like we already synchronized this release with Kubeflow manifest, so this should be fine. But if you see any problems or we need to do any bug fixes, let us know so we can have a patch release for 1.9 afterwards. All right, so then I guess like we also need to speak about the Katip release, right? Because this is more important. We have also discussion on the Kubeflow trainer. Maybe let me jump to this first. So we have a lot of updates recently. Like there are still progress going on the validation side. I know we have integration test and unit test for initializer, which is great, and I think it was merged to the upstream. So the only thing like we need to do is to improve validation, and already asked actually to finish his PRs on the training runtime and training job validation, which is still open, I guess. So it's right here. Yeah, these two PRs. So this we definitely need to merge before we can cut the first release. I think the more important thing that I want to maybe talk about in this call about the CRD version. So we have discussion around like what should be the version of our CRDs. Because like we're creating completely new CRDs, like calling train job and training runtime. The discussion was, should we start the version of this CRD from V1 Alpha 1 version instead of V2 Alpha 1 version? Because this is brand new CRD and we don't really upgrade the CRD, which means like in Kubernetes, their best practice is to just start the, APIs from V1 version. I just want to hear like, what community thinks on this and what we should do with CRDs. This is the thread. So maybe Yuki or Shao, you can provide your suggestions since you add the comments there.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, our last thing is we bring change job and training runtime with a proposal called Kubeflow training version 2. I think version 2 is more straightforward for users to know what happened between our in our effort to remove V1 training operator and add some new APIs like change job and training runtime. Yeah. And the messages will be if we are well prepared, if the API for change job and training runtime is mature and stable, then we can release version 2, v2.0.0. And before that, we could release some versions like v1.10.0. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yuki, what is your perspective? Because my only concern, like if we keep the V2 Alpha 1 version for train job, we might need to have like another version in the future if we want to, migrate, which we don't really want to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can first have V1 V2 alpha 1 and then V1 V2 alpha beta 1 and then V2. Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead. Do you have your opinion on this?
Yeah.
Here is
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Can I?
Yeah, we
Yeah. Go on.
So here my point is, so basically, I want to use V1 Alpha 1 version for the train job and the training runtime. But so as I mentioned in this PR comment, so we need to consider and describe what is B1 in this project, what is bit in this project for end users. For sure, so our maintainer and developers can easily understand what is different between API version and project version, but for end users, it's not clear, right? So, but so, B1 Alpha version, B1 Alpha CLD version name makes sense based on Kubernetes API versioning policy. So can we say And can we define these in the release version, GitHub release version, and Go module version? So
Mhm.
let's say in Go module 5, we can call the training operator as github.com/q4/training operator /bit. And so we will cut new release um, in the future as v2.0.0. This is
So
my
let,
opinion.
yeah, let me ask you this. So what if we rename this GitHub to trainer, Kubeflow trainer, but the Go modules in the release branch will still be a training operator? Is it going to work? So in the master branch, we're going to have the Go module, which will be github.com/kubeflow/trainer. And on the release branch, this one, we will have github.com/kubeflow/training operator. Is it going to work?
I think that does not work fine, because so
Okay,
this module name should correspond to GitHub repository name.
I see.
Or if we have custom domain name, we
Mhm.
can call it. But if I remember correctly, we do not have any Q4 trainer specific domain name, right?
Yeah, but we can rename the repo, right?
Yeah, in that case, so this training operator name will be dropped.
You mean will be dropped from Go modules, right? Or so if I go to Go modules, right? This is just not going to work right for us. I mean, like um, like because you can name the Go module as you want, right? Basically, and you can release. So my only question, what is not going to work? Because I guess like we can name it as like the module should not be the same as the project name, isn't it? Like the same as the GitHub name. Um,
Yes, should be same as GitHub name. Yeah.
let me think on this more. I just want to try this out to see like if in the release branch we'll keep the training operator, and in the master branch we will keep the trainer, and what in that case will happening.
I think in that case, so we need to rename the module name as well as in the 1.9 release branch.
Hmm, I see. Because for example for 1.4, um, so
Yeah, TF operator name cannot be used.
um, yeah, but if we go to the latest branches, right? Don't we have this TF operator there? Um, Yeah, we don't have this Go modules there because we've been using the TOML, yeah, the Go packages, right? And here we had TF operator. Do you remember Yuki if we use any branch for TF operator with Go modules? Um,
Not sure.
so, yeah, this one, right? 1.2 branch. So 1.2 branch, right, has the TF operator here. And people can still use the 1.2 version of TF operator, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe so this release branch can be buildable
Okay.
within this repository, but I guess this branch cannot be imported in the external branch or external project.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, can it be imported via the branches? Or I think Go models doesn't support this, right? We can't import um, the branch, so we can't import the model by the branch, right? Um, But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see any problems with this. I mean, we've done this already, like, 3 years ago. Like, we renamed the TF operator to training operator, right? And I didn't get any complaints. We didn't get any complaints from the customers, right? That the TF operator just doesn't work. Right? Like, I didn't really remember if we get any complaints from the end users on this.
Yeah. I think so too. I did not hear the problem from
Yeah, because
external
1.3,
provider.
the latest release of TF operator, right? 1.3 branch. And starting from 1.4, we migrated to training operator, right? So I guess this was working perfectly. Uh, because because I don't want to have a new repo, completely new repo. Like, I just really want to keep the same repo and we can do the renaming. My only like question is, like, if we rename the Go modules to trainer here, right? Would it be fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, but so in the TF operator, so what is version? Okay, so 1.3. So in this Go version, so the Go module management is more soft rather than current Go module version management.
Mhm.
As you can see, current Go module, so we need to manage all Go module dependencies. Um, so not sure what happening in the current our training operator repository when we renamed the repository name only in master branch.
Mhm. Yeah, anyway, I think we can just test it, right? Like, we can see what's happening if we try to import the training operator from the 1.9 branch, right? Or release 1.9 release. Because I guess this is the version like, this is the tech version, right? So we just can try to see, can we really import the training operator from 1.9.0 and, like, use trainer in the master, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. My point is
Mhm.
additionally, so I guess so code generator or code auto generators might be stopped when we migrate to repository name because so
Mhm.
maybe so if we migrate to repository name in only in the master branch, so I guess we the repository name is GitHub repository name is Kubeflow trainer,
Yep.
but I guess we need to create the local branch as training operator for the release branch because so
Okay.
yeah, so it's a complicated situation. So
Okay.
yeah, so maybe so for developers it's so confusing how we can prepare
I
the
can, yeah, I see. I mean, we can test it, but I don't think the Go module should be the same as the GitHub project name, because, I mean, this is working, right? And I mean, you can probably, yeah, probably I don't know about the new version of Go. We can try it, but from my perspective, I hope this is going to work. Um,
yeah. But so in this 1.3 version, so is there any code generators or
yeah, I think we have
something
this actually.
generation mechanism?
Yeah, generate code again, right? This one.
Oh,
And
I
it's using
see.
dev operator, right? Clients. So
Maybe
we
we
just need to
can
see if this is actually
perform.
workable, right? If this we can actually run it, right?
Not sure. We can try. Yeah, we can just try.
All right, sounds good. Any other like thoughts, like maybe suggestions what we can do with this from the community? All right, so let's definitely try this out to see if this old branch is going to work. Because, like, eventually, I mean, back to the discussion of what CRD version we should keep, right? Um, we can released the Kubeflow trainer as part of 1.10 release of this repo, right? And say like 1.10 release, starting from 1.10, you have to use the Kubeflow trainer, right? CRDs and new project. And this will keep the API consistent and the GitHub release consistent. Just like one of the ideas could be. Do you have any like objectives? Yeah, good.
Yeah, but so in the Kubeflow pipeline projects, so they use B to release version, right?
Yeah, but yeah, that's correct. And their SDK is being released to the zero, right? But the problem with KFP, they're using the same SDK. We will use the new SDK. We will use the new CRD. So I guess like they migrate to the zero because they use the same CRD as V1, right? So it's kind of slightly different compared to us, right? Yeah, maybe, I mean, if you have any other ideas what we can do, let us know. I just hope we don't really keep customers. Do we have any end users here on the call who just want to maybe give their perspective on what we should do with the releases? Especially of, 1.0 version of training operator.
Maybe if I can just jump in. So this is
Yep.
Antonin from Red Hat, but so I'm not an end user by far. But to me, like it really feels like it really depends the versioning on what artifact we are talking about. So for the version of the repo, I mean there is the operator, there is the SDK. So the SDK, as you said, Andre, clearly we've already been versioning it by bumping the major version, going 2.0. Then the operator, to me, it feels like it'd rather be released as a 2.0 because that's clearly a major like kind of change. And then there are the API, and the API, their life cycle is independent from the operator. The version of the CRD are attached to the API itself, not really the version of the operator, I think. So if that is correct, like it feels it's a new API. It's a V1 of a new API. Yes, it'll work with operator V2, but from an end user standpoint, and I mean the user consuming those different artifacts are different. Like I would challenge the assumption that it would be confusing for use like a data scientist that the trainer API would be version starting V1. I don't think that'd be confusing for that persona. And for the people that I don't know are close to the operator, I think that's a fairly easy thing to comprehend that the operator is V2, but the API is new, is a new API, and it starts with V1. It's completely unrelated from the other CRD that were being used by the operator V1. So that's just my thought on that.
Yeah, so I think like if we decide to make this renaming to Kubeflow Trainer, we should rename everything to Kubeflow Trainer. Like starting from deployment to to also SDK. So SDK will have a new name. I think we decided that we're going to have just a Kubeflow name, no Kubeflow Training here.
Yeah.
Which means this is completely new SDK, completely new CRD, completely new deployment.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so what you're saying is that maybe even for the SDK, it's a completely new thing. So we could go with V1. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So we will use this SDK, the Kubeflow SDK.
Yeah. It could be. We could restart. Yeah, if it's a completely different artifact, it can start over a new version cycle, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess like the only question is like, what version we want to keep initially, like 1.10 in that case, like because we have like this boundary of the repo, right? Like we cannot just having the 1.0 version. like this.
Yeah, but to me, the question is what is it that version attached to? Like, if I mean, I understand there is the operator.
Mhm.
I mean that version that you're pointing at, it's not the version of the SDK. The version of the it's the one that's on PyPy or
Yeah.
the, that.
So we just try to keep the version of PyPy the same as the version of
Yeah,
Git.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
in that case, so can we create a new repository for trainer instead of this existing training operator?
Mhm. Yeah, this could be one of the option. And just starting with 0 point something, right?
Yeah,
0.2, for example.
yeah. And so we can keep this, we can read this repository, but so we can accept bug fix or security issues in this repository. So I think it's clear for end users, the couple of repositories.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Yeah, any thoughts on this? Like, if we create a completely new repo, like the only question, do we want to, what we should do with SDK? Because I mean, ideally, SDK should also live outside of, Kubeflow Trainer, kind of like, SDK, which because the goal of to control also tuning jobs, right? Yeah, but I mean, I think like if we start with 0.0.1 release, right? I guess in that case, we can in the future migrate to the SDK, like 1.0, for example. Yeah, I just don't know like what we should do with SDK in that case, because for some time we'll keep SDK just working with training operator. Any thoughts on like creating completely a new repo for Kubeflow Trainer?
Yeah.
L-
So
Let's yeah.
yeah, so yeah, in my opinion, so creating a new repository is most better, more better straightforward solution based on end user and semantic versioning management. Yeah, some some situations.
Yeah, from a technical, I agree with you, Yuki. Probably from a management technical standpoint, that'd be the easiest option. Then what would we do? Not from a developer standpoint, but from a user standpoint, they would have to. We would have to make sure like to point them to the. I mean, for V2, it was convenient because we piggyback on the popularity of V1 and kind of like people are at home and. But that may not be an issue. I mean, I guess people will go over. I mean, I guess my point is that we'd like people to at some point move toward V2.
Yeah, and I mean in the future we can just archive this training operator, right?
Yeah. True.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Let me enumerate all the ideas, like, and then we can maybe make a decision, like create new repo, make 1.10 release for the Kubeflow trainer, training, rename. Yeah, I think it's fine. Let's discuss it offline. But I think like, creating new repo might be like the better for you for end users, right? All right. Any other thoughts on this point, on this topic?
So one thing is, so as alternative solution, so we create a new repository, but the new repository is not for Kubeflow new trainer. So we can back up whole of current training operator into new repository. And so we use current repository as only for Kubeflow new trainer. So
Mhm.
Not sure if this solution is better for
So if in that case,
users.
Yeah.
go ahead. Continue.
No, that idea crossed my mind. If I understood it correctly, Yuki, you would the new repo that we would create, we would use it for V1, right, and keep the existing one for the V2.
Yes, yes. So I think we
Yeah,
also give the different name, right? Like legacy, for example, or I think we've done this for KFC Run before. Yeah, go ahead, Nathaniel. LTS we call it.
LTS, yeah.
We can have a repo called training operator, minus LTS, but we have the same problem that we cannot have a releases in this repo, right? A releases needs to start with the new branch, right? Or like you can, in that case, can we remove all the releases for this new repo trainer?
We would have to move. Ideally, we would move the all these information to the new repo. If that's something possible, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Even like the issue tracker, you should be able to do it. I think it's possible. Actually, when you create a new, I think you could. I've seen that people like migrate existing thing, and then we could delete them from the existing repo to start from a clean slate for V2. It could be.
Yeah, it's kind of
Oh.
challenging. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, but won't that affect the existing deployments of training operator? Like either some manifest files or any links that they try to use? Like, won't it?
GitOps. Yeah. So if we do renaming, the GitHub automatically redirect the links to the new repo, but the GitOps will be broken if they use the release branches.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can, in that case, do you know about the migration of branches, right? Do we need to remove all those branches from this repo if we do this operation, as you said?
Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's definitely discuss some options offline. We can enumerate them and maybe have a pros and cons of all these options, and explore like if anyone can volunteer to help us to explore. I think this would be amazing. To help us. I mean, maybe I can start a new tracking issue, so where we can just say what options do they have, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
Right. Any other thoughts on this topic? Okay. In that case, I just don't want to block existing progress again. Like, yeah.
One question I have.
Yeah, Deepak, go ahead. You have a question?
The SDK will be in the same repo or will it be a different repo?
Yeah, this is another question, right? Like where we should keep SDK, right? We can have Kubeflow/SDK and keep them in different releases, right? Because if in the future we want to also move the optimizer as part of this SDK.
So SDK for all the Kubeflow projects or just the training operator?
Yeah, I mean, the idea was to keep this SDK for all of these, like batch related projects, like Katib, training operator. Maybe we can move some part of model registry there if they want to, like reuse it, right? Somehow have integrations. So kind of like Python SDK where data scientists can interact with Kubeflow APIs, and KFP stays like outside, and KFP kind of a layer on top, right, to orchestrate those workloads.
We can maybe discuss that also in this issue.
Yeah. I think we can start for SDK, we can start with this new repo and then eventually migrate it to this new SDK repo. Because I think it will be easier from the maintenance perspective. Because if we start with 0.0.1 release, or maybe I don't know, like we need to talk about this as well. Because the question like what would be the version of SDK, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so any change to an SDK in a chain or chain operator will be mirrored to the new SDK repo.
Mhm.
Am I understand correctly?
Yeah, so I mean, ideally, SDK should live independently from trainer, right? It should be just Kubeflow/SDK.
Okay. So conclusion to this agenda is we use V1 Alpha 1 for change job and changing runtime and release 1.10 in the future.
Not yet. Like I need to create an issue to discuss different options, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sound good to me.
I think like the thing we need to discuss about like the UK approach, if we move the existing training operator to the new repo, what we can do with the branches and releases. So if someone can help us to explore this, that would be great. Like eventually, like if you move everything to the TLS, LTS repo, for example. That's my sense, Shao, like what I'm talking about. Like if we rename this repo to Kubeflow trainer, but migrate the training operator code to the training operator minus LTS, like long-term support, right? So this could be one of the options.
Yeah, I see.
Right. Anyway, so let's definitely move on. I know we also want to talk about the trainer LLM trainer design, right? Like other topics. Do you have any other questions before we discuss this topic and updates? All right. The only thing that's about MPI, I think it was a question on the community call whether we want to have a separate section on the Kubeflow website for MPI operator. I know there are a lot of confusion around MPI operator and where it should live. So the suggestion was to maybe have a new section for Kubeflow trainer, keep MPI operator separate, but in the same time we want to support MPI within Kubeflow trainer. So I just don't know like what is the right thing for MPI operator users, and do they really use this kubeflow.org to use MPI operator? But maybe we can discuss it like after we decide to the new repo name and the MPI runtime initial implementation. Okay. Yeah, Shao, do you want to share your screen to discuss the updates?
Yeah, definitely. I have some important findings in this past 2 weeks. Can you see my
Sure.
screen?
Yep.
Yeah. I will skip the overview. If you are not familiar with this, you can open it with that link and read it. And let me discuss it. In the last week, in the last 2 weeks, we have discussions on the Torch2 launcher for the LM trainer. But I find that Torch2 has some drawbacks. Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, Torch2 is a Torch native library, and it has the fully compatible with Torch-ROM, but it has some drawbacks. Now Torch2 only supports single node training. That means that we can only have one port in the training phase, and we can only specify a node as one. This is a related issue. I will show you about it. Yeah. Someone raised the issue of discussing the Torch2 about the multi-node training, and the maintainer said that they can directly run the recepts and the config with the Torch-ROM, but some other people find that it is full of error trace, and in the end, the maintainer admit that they do plan to support multi-node sometime, and they have no bandwidth for the multi-node modes. So up to now, the Torch2 API currently only supports single node training. I think it would put a strong restriction for us to scaling training ports on Kubernetes, because we only can have one port or one node for the training. Also, it only supports some popular LLMs and will bring some inflexibilities for us to fine-tune other models. Yeah, that's all. That's what I find in the last 2 weeks. And also I think the Torch2 is very different from Torch1. We may need to implement a new plugin for Torch2 instead of integrating Torch2 into the Torch1 API in the Torch1 launcher. So the updated version will be option 1, native PyTorch launcher for Torch1, and it may have multiple backends, such as Hugging Face transformers, native PyTorch API, which is used by Llama Recepts and other projects, and also maybe NVIDIA Nemo. And the option 1 will be Torch2. Its pros is it is the most easiest way for us to implement the LLM trainer. And in the future, Torch2 may support multi-node fine-tuning, but now I think this option can be postponed. Yeah.
I think this is great, Shao. So on this problem with multi-node, what's specifically the problem with Torch2 until you do like to perform multi-node fine-tuning? I can see
Yeah,
there is
you
a
can
jar open, right?
yeah, you can check it in details in this issue. It has not sufficient support for multi-mode, and all the examples in the Torch2 repo is only have a single node, which means that another node is only set to 1 and cannot set to other values such as 2. And I think it sounds not good for our Kubernetes.
I'm like wondering, does it mean that all the models they support, they do like single node training, like for example, Llama 70B?
They trained the Torch2 doesn't adopt Kubernetes. They train the 70 billion Llama 70B on one machine, on one machine with eight GPUs. Yeah.
Yeah, so it supports, I think, single node and multi-device training.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Your
single
Kubernetes
node
cluster,
multi.
your Kubernetes cluster should support those types of VMs, right? Which has like A100 GPUs, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. That's to say, we may wait for the Torch2 to support multiple nodes, or shall we?
I'm just like wondering. So, do we need to have multiple LLM training runtimes for like for folks who want to use Torch2 and for folks who want to use?
Yeah, I think we may need different. We may need. Then we can define multiple. Yeah, then we can define multiple training runtimes for different. Let me find some example. I will write an example. This is what I wrote for Torch2. Yeah, if we decide to adopt Torch2, yeah, we may need to define the training runtime. Yeah, training node and finalizer, because Torch2 can download the model and dataset automatically. So I delete the initializer for model and the dataset. And what's most important is train job. Yeah, Torch2 is Torch2 has some special points. Is that in the Torch2 official documentation, the distributed training arcs should be passed in front of the recepts. That means that we must pass the arguments before this argument. Yeah, and it cannot be passed by environment variables in the PET convention. So I think it's conflict. I think it's conflict with our Torch current plugin for Torch1 and some other environment passing. So it may need some another plugin if we decide to implement Torch 2 runtime.
Okay.
And the image we use may be some customized image which have PyTorch CUDA and Torch 2 image. But if we use launcher like Torch Run, then we have a separate another image, and it may contain the element trainer we wrote. Torch 2 doesn't need the element trainer because it have built-in recepts and configs.
Yes.
So I think you need a separate thing runtime for different element training. For example, Torch 2 fine tuning, Torch Run.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any thoughts?
Fine tuning.
Yeah.
So currently, Torch 2 is not available for multi-node training. So my suggestions will be implement the Torch Run launcher, and maybe you can support the multiple backends like transformer using trainer or SFT trainer, and you have some project that adopts it, and have some maybe we can also have native PyTorch API and just like Llama Recepts and other projects. And in the future, we may have NVIDIA NeMo. And we've designed a multiple backend architecture with DeepAnchor. And this is his initial document. We can register multiple backends to the element trainer, for example, native PyTorch, Hugging Face, and NeMo in the future. And maybe we can have an abstract data class, and I will discuss it later. And since we have all these backends, we can just code this. We can just code this in the fine-tuning config. For example, we use Torch Run launcher, and in the future maybe Torch 2 and accelerate, and so on. And we can specify the backend such as Hugging Face, and then we can use the Hugging Face backend. I think it's more flexible and also efficient for us to use the trainer. What do you think?
Yeah. I think what would be useful, you have examples with Torch Run and Hugging Face for DDP and FSDP. Like, for example, like I don't think our example in V1 is correct for DDP, because if you take a look in trainer for V1, we're using the split dataset by node. I'm not sure if it's actually using DDP behind the scenes.
Yeah. I have investigated Hugging Face transformers, and it surely supports DDP. Yeah. And it also supports the distributed sampler, and it has the rich ecosystem for this. So I think maybe I can raise a PR first about Hugging Face backend, because we already implement Hugging Face backend in the V1 trainer, and then PyTorch and then NeMo. And then we can wait for the Torch 2 to update the multi-node training, and then support the Torch 2 launcher.
Yeah. But I think, again, we can be opinionated which models we want to support initially, right? We can start with some models which definitely work, right? And in the future, we can expand it, right? So we don't want to design a trainer which will support any type of, models. They're similar to Torch 2, right? Torch 2 doesn't support all of the models.
Yeah, maybe we can support some popular.
Yeah, because another concern would be like, what about different type of GPUs, right? Because when we've done this example for KubeCon, for example, like we don't have A100 GPUs, we have to run the fine tuning on V100. and v100 doesn't support bfloat 16, and also doesn't support, I believe, some other, maybe quantization. I need to take a look again. So the question is like, do we also want to dictate which GPU you have to use when you use those runtimes? Yeah, this I'm not also sure.
Yeah.
Any thoughts like from other committee members, like what we should do?
Yeah, one question. So when we use TorchTune generally, like one of the goals, if I understand correctly on this doc, is to make fine tuning simpler. So we want to not be able to write or like make it easy to write scripts and all that. So I'm curious, like in this design, the scripts would always be part of the trainer image, correct? Or is that not accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, go, Sean.
Yeah, I think TorchTune, as you said, TorchTune is more suitable for us to fine tune the LM since it's just like our trainer, since it's all just like our train job and training runtime. Yeah, recepts is recepts corresponding to our element trainer script. The config can correspond to the trainer fields in the train job. Yeah. But
Okay.
for the future sport, we may need some other sport since it have multiple issues for us to support it, such as this distributed training arcs, and also we need to append some override arguments for the recipe config. So I think it's complex, and what's more, the most important point is that the currently only supports single node multiple devices, but not multiple nodes. It means that we can only launch a one port for the training, and I think it conflicts with our idea to make the ILM fine tuning scalable, and I can maybe scale to the multiple nodes.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, I don't see a huge problem of not supporting multi-node initially, because I mean, if you have the GPUs, you can do single node, right? Yes, but you're right, like we don't have a trainer image if we decide to use TorchTune, right? Because it's just a CLI which has everything in it, right? Yes.
So essentially, one thing on that. So the way that works is it has those blueprints and like everything is baked into that blueprint. You just have to provide the name of that, and the CLI will take care of everything. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can modify the config, like if you want to.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
see this example, and this is the recepts, and you can understand it as a chain script, and the other one is and the argument after the config argument is a config for these recepts, such as the model and data set, and something configuration like the pointing and profile. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I think we can start with something. Again, I just like want to hear, like, what do we want to, move this proposal to some sort of cap and start, some initial implementation.
Yeah. Yeah. I will split this issue. I will split this to multiple issues, and we can check them and discuss it in the KKFP, KEP, and
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, let's first of all create Kubeflow enhancement proposal in the training operator repo and discuss it. And
Yeah.
I also would love to see like how DDP and FSDP will work with Hugging Face transformers using the torch run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're almost over
Yeah.
time. So any last questions, comments on this? All right. Yeah, I think this is great. Again, thanks for Shao for pushing this. Again, like I think we definitely need to have something by, like maybe by KubeCon, some initial limitation, and it should it should not be perfect, right? We can always migrate to Docker, as you mentioned in the future, right?
Yeah.
Don't see any problems.
I will implement it before the
Mhm.
KubeCon in the Europe.
Yeah, let's definitely.
Is it
Okay.
is there April 1st? And we will have 2 months left for this.
Yeah, that's true. I really
Yeah.
hope by April we can also decide with the repo, because I think we need to do the release. So let's definitely focus on this first, and then we can make a release and working on these important fixes and improvements, right?
Yeah, I will hurry on it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Right.
Any last questions before we drop off? Sounds good. Thanks everyone for your time then. So see you in 2 weeks, and let's definitely follow up in GitHub and in Slack so we can discuss other topics. Right. Thank you.
See you.
Yeah. See you
See
soon.
you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.